Hello and welcome. My name is Paul Mantey. I am the BCS Virtualization Program Manager for the Americas. Today I'm masquerading as the HP Evangelist, and we're here to talk to you about the adaptive infrastructure. As you can see, the formal title of this presentation is Cost Reduction through Technology Optimization and Standardization. See, I blew that already, but that's okay because you can swizzle that in your mind. So a lot of questions come out from customers asking us, what is the adaptive infrastructure? How do I order it? How do I buy it? What is it? Etc. I'm not ready for that yet. And I want to get it across. This is HP's overarching strategy for all of our products. So we're going to talk about that. And first I'm going to talk about what is the customer problem that we're trying to resolve with an adaptive infrastructure approach. So there's a growing gap. There's a big challenge that is faced in the world today. One, there's been an explosive growth in terms of IT and in terms of technology and how it is used in the business, right? It's not like we're in a situation here in 2009 where there's less technology being used by companies. In fact, most companies, their biggest capital expenditures are around their IT infrastructures. And we're bringing online now the whole millennial generation. These are kids who have grown up with computers, who have always been around computers, and for whom connectivity is a given, right? It's not something that is accomplished. It's not something that you have to work at. It's a given. It's something that's there. And look at your own expectations, right? If you log into a computer today and you say you go to Amazon.com or you go to United Airlines and you purchase a ticket, when is your expectation in terms of when do you get information, confirmation back that that transaction has occurred? You know, it's in seconds, right? If you don't get that email within a few seconds, you start worrying, and if you don't get confirmation back really quick, you kind of wonder what has happened with that transaction, and you're losing trust with that company. So it is central to the strategies of companies. That this is not just something that's happening in the back room. It's essential to the value that the company is getting out of IT, and that's something I'll talk about as well. However, IT's overall ability to deliver on this is something they're still very much struggling with, right? I've yet to meet an IT shop where they're like, you know what, we're actually ahead of the business in terms of what they want and what we're able to deliver, right? They're struggling, and it's in the application space with enterprise applications and this whole SOA, and we're becoming service-oriented, and what does that mean? Media-rich applications and the ability to exchange an enormous amount of data quickly. How do you protect that? How do you keep it from being altered? Upgrades, getting away from legacy, doing application modernization. In the infrastructure perspective, we talk about a doubling of servers every 5 years. We talk about a doubling of storage at least every year. And then virtualization, the big wild card in there, right? On the one hand, it's a good thing because I can consolidate, I can shrink the number of servers that I have in my environment and use less power, have less of an impact on the environment, etc. But by the same token, I'm adding complexity to my operations costs. I'm adding complexity to my management. How do I do things now? And there's a wonderful video, right, where Cerner is very proudly talking about the fact that they've gotten down with virtualization and with HP Blades, they can get down to 500. They can get 500 OS instances into a single rack. And I'm sitting there thinking the operations guys are sweating. I can get 500 OS instances in a rack? What does that do to my data center, right? And so this is becoming a big concern, a big driver in terms of managing all this complexity. And then the other one that HP doesn't talk about a whole lot, but really is, I think, one of the big problems is this whole IT management. How are we organized? And we used to talk about siloed organizations within an IT, but I borrowed a term from a guy by the name of Keith Jan, and he describes it as tribal. And I think tribal is a much richer term to use for this because in a siloed organization, there is some natural inefficiency, right? Because the silos don't necessarily connect with one another. In a tribal, it's not just the fact that they're not connected to one another, but they're actually warring with one another, right? And if that's going on inside of IT, and we know it does, because the system administrators, they come in a Windows flavor and a Unix flavor and a Linux flavor now. And they don't always agree with the SAN administrators and the LAN administrators. And then we have the operations people and the business process people are all in different valleys and occasionally are warring factions all arguing over the same budget, but all serving the same master of trying to work together to provide value to the business. So this is a big area we need to work on addressing with how we engage with our customers, how our customers engage with HP to really yield great benefits. Another way to look at this is from the financial aspect, right? And I think everyone's seen this slide where, in 2005, HP's budget was about 70% on operations and maintenance, about 30% on performance enhancement and innovation. And there was a recent article in InfoWeek, right, about how Randy Mott has succeeded in flipping that. It's the new 80-20. And instead of this 70-30, 80-20 mix in terms of maintenance and operations, he's succeeded in flipping it to 80% performance enhancements and innovation. Well, customers really would love to know how to do this because at the end of the day, this is their biggest problem, right? I go back to that gap, that credibility gap, explaining their value to the business. This is their biggest problem. I'm offering for sale that mutual fund. I keep offering this and I haven't yet to get a taker. It's $1,000 a share to buy in. Do I have any takers in the room? I'm going to disclose overhead. It's 70% maintenance and overhead. You guys aren't taking, right? Well, why would business invest in IT when IT's coming back and going, 70 cents out of every dollar you give me is going to just keep the lights on. I can only really do innovation that will actually yield value with that 30 cents. So it's imperative that they figure out how to reduce that operational expense, how to better leverage their application investment, how to invest in the performance, the strategy, the innovation that's going to help yield business results so they can get down to the magical 30-70 mix, where 70% is towards performance enhancement and innovation. So if that's the problem, how does AI fit into that? So I love these two slides and how they describe really what AI does. So if you look over here at the left-hand side of this slide, you'll see for an application for a business process, the demand is not always uniform. Like every organization, it comes it ebbs and flows. It comes in peaks and spurts. And it may be predictable. We have a quarter-end close. We have a year-end close. We have a sale, a fair sale, a discount, whatever it is, or it may be unpredictable. We have a natural disaster, which all of a sudden means I've got to ship a bunch of bottled water to that location, right? And so there's really three approaches that typically IT takes to this. One is make the business happy at all costs, right? Always have more than enough supply so that whatever the demand occurs, you can meet it. This makes the business happy. It makes the CFO very angry, right? And in a lot of cases, the CFO reports to the CIO reports to the CFO, and so they change that and they get a little more aggressive, which goes down to number two here. So now imagine you're a marketing department and you've come up with this wonderful sale. Maybe you're a diamond, retailer, and you're going to buy some time in the Super Bowl, an ad space.